That'll make it more fun for you.
Do what?
Do you want me to be weird and follow you when there's only two people?
Maybe I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I said, do you want me to be weird and follow you when there's only two people?
It don't matter.
Will it make them uncomfortable?
Yeah.
I can come listen to him talk, except I might have a tour at 11. Would you stop looking at me? This is not about me. Jeez. Oh, I'm glad you're getting him with his tea, though, because that's important. Milo's is the secret to his success.
Yes, that is it. That's the secret ingredient. So
Only two.
Introduce yourself.
do what?
Introduce yourself.
Introduce myself. My name's David Van Dyke. I live in Columbia. Raised in Jackson,
What
Tennessee.
started your interest in history, David?
My uncle Angus, okay? He was named for his grandfather, who was Angus Marshall Van Dyke, who was in the American Civil War. Well, even before I could read, it was Uncle Angus saying, come here and sit in my lap, let me read you about Grandpa, or let's talk about it.
A good day is any day at the Carter House, right? When you can come and be here and be with your buds.
I realized pretty quickly that I had two loves. One was history, and one was electricity. And I figured that would be what could pay the bills. So I became an electrical engineer and wound up working for the Air Force, working for NASA for about 22 years. And then I retired, and now I'm devoting it to my second love, which is history. I've got a trunk at home that when my mom passed, that was in there. And then I remembered it. 7th grade, Mr. Wheatley's American English class, we had to do a project, and this was my project. It's the Civil War.
7th grade.
7th grade. Got a 99 on it. After I retired, I started haunting this place. You can get a lot from books, but I have learned that I absorb more from people that know the things. So I just wanted to come here and be a part of this place and feel like it was, a little bit mine. Like I say, I was a fly on the wall. I was not employed by the Carter House at all, but I was here probably 3 or 4 days a week. And I went on everybody's tour. Everyone that gave a tour, old Dave was on it at least once. It was one rainy Friday, as I recall, and Elizabeth was working here. And Elizabeth was a little under the weather, and David Fraley was kind of in charge here. And David just looked at me and he said, Dave, why don't you go ahead and take this tour. Of course, I was, cloud 9, and so I went up, I took the tour, and I came back, my very first tour. And there was a fellow here that I had met a couple of times, never been formally introduced to him, by the name of Eric Jacobson. And I was sitting out on the porch, and he said, who did that last tour? And I said, I did. And he looked at me and he said, who are you? Actually, that's not exactly what he said. He actually said, who the hell are you? So it was a little more emphatic than that. Certainly after the trust took over and things started changing, and it was like the Confederate Army wasn't fighting in a vacuum. There were federal soldiers here, and the fact that we're on the federal line, suddenly you need to know what's going on. Well, when I first came, much, much different than it is today. There were so many little things that we didn't have the answers for, not big research projects, but for example, where was the bridge that Schofield repaired? Just exactly where was it up there in Franklin? And I spent about 3 weeks with satellite images and this, that, and the other, and I can walk you to the exact spot where the bridge was. And I wrote that up. What we say on tour now is the truth, as best we're able to do it. It's not something that's just made up and something that is good theater rather than being good history. And I didn't really appreciate that until this change started taking. But suddenly, it's more important to tell people the truth than it is to tell them something they want to hear. We've tried to make people feel good. Well, this is not a feel-good story. The American Civil War is a horrible, horrible story. And if people really want to understand it, and if they want to learn from it, that's what we want to do, then they've got to accept those bad things. They've got to acknowledge the bad things. And it's our job to present it that way and not pull punches. So that's that. I feel very good when I walk up there on a tour, because I know when I walk out this door, I'm going to tell these people the truth as best as I know it. They may not like it, but that's okay if they don't like it. There's so much that we can do up there to get people thinking. There's some people some people's like arguing with a paper clip. You're never going to change their mind. It's not worth your time, your effort, emotional effort or mental effort to worry about it. But there's also people up there that you can light that little light. You'll see it. You'll see that light come on. I didn't know that. Yeah, go look at that. Go read a little about that. Let me show you. Let me tell you a good book. Go read that. You've lit that spark, you know? And that is got to be one of the most rewarding things about what we do up on that hill, is get people to start thinking, to quit parroting things they've heard and go learn for themselves. And there's a lot of people that walk in this door, that's what they want to do. They want to learn. And we got to teach them. We got to teach them to learn. That, by golly.
Shakespeare, you should not read Shakespeare. You need to see and hear Shakespeare.
That's true.
Reading it, and that I can remember back in the 7th and 8th grade, reading Macbeth and things like that, Hamlet. They were totally dry, but you see it performed. A good company. Methinks he doth protest too much. Yeah. I don't know what else.